Hi guys, sorry to interrupt your viewing, but please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thank you.
15 years of dedication, overtime, sacrificed weekends, and corporate loyalty, all gone in less time than it takes to drink a cup of coffee. That's the reality I'm staring at as I sit in a sterile conference room, the air thick with the artificial scent of cheap air freshener and unspoken betrayals. Across from me, Lisa, my manager, blonde, polished, and utterly devoid of empathy, sits with a self-satisfied smirk on her perfectly glossed lips. I always knew she thrived on power, but I never thought she'd enjoy this moment so much. Jessica, she begins, her voice the kind of fake sympathetic that makes my skin crawl. After 15 years with the company, we've had to make some difficult decisions regarding restructuring. She pauses, letting the words sink in, as if she expects me to break down or beg for my job like some desperate intern. Instead, I sit motionless, my fingers laced together in my lap, my face impassive. She doesn't like that. Lisa likes reactions. Your position is being eliminated, effective Friday, she continues, leaning back in her chair with an air of smug finality. We appreciate your years of service and, of course, we'll offer a small severance package as a token of gratitude. The way she says it makes my stomach churn. Gratitude. That word feels like an insult coming from her, from this company, from the same people who squeezed every ounce of effort out of me and are now tossing me aside like an outdated spreadsheet. I exhale slowly through my nose, keeping my expression neutral, forcing my voice to remain steady as I tilt my head slightly and respond. I completely understand. The smile that creeps onto Lisa's face is the kind that people wear when they think they've won, when they believe they hold all the power, when they assume you have no cards left to play. And maybe that would be true for someone else, someone who hadn't spent years in the trenches, learning every corner of this company, uncovering every secret, seeing every unethical decision made behind closed doors. Lisa doesn't know it yet, but Monday is going to be the worst day of her life. She pushes a folder across the table, my termination paperwork, her manicured nails tapping against the edge as if she's in a rush to move on to her next victim. We'll need you to clean out your desk by end of day Friday, she says, her voice airy, like she's reminding me to take out the trash before a long weekend. If you have any personal files on the system, now would be a good time to remove them. IT will be deactivating your access by close of business. The audacity. The absolute arrogance of it all. For a brief moment, I wonder if she's even aware of what she's done, if she realizes that she's just made an enemy out of someone who knows everything about this company, every misfiled report, every corner cut, every shady backroom deal. But of course, she doesn't. Because people like Lisa assume that the workers they discard are powerless, that will just disappear into obscurity, tail between our legs, grateful for whatever scraps they decide to throw our way. I reach for the folder, flipping through the pages without really reading them, and nod. Understood, I say again, letting the words sit there between us, empty, meaningless, and just ambiguous enough to keep her from sensing what's coming. Lisa stands, smoothing down her pristine designer blouse, and flashes me one last condescending smile. Best of luck, Jessica, she chirps, like this is some kind of amicable departure, like we're not standing in the middle of an execution she orchestrated for her own amusement. I rise slowly, my chair scraping against the polished floor, and extend my hand. Thanks, Lisa, I say, my grip firm as I shake hers. I really appreciate everything. She laughs lightly, oblivious, and I watch her walk away, striding down the hall with the confidence of a woman who believes she's untouchable. I stand there for a moment, listening to the hum of the fluorescent lights, feeling the weight of 15 years settle over me, and then I turn on my heel, heading back to my desk for what they think will be my final days at Westfield Financial. But I know something Lisa doesn't. I'm not leaving quietly. That night, I sit in my dimly lit apartment with a glass of wine in one hand and my laptop glowing in front of me, its pale light illuminating the anger simmering just beneath my carefully composed exterior. The weight of 15 years of loyalty turned into nothing more than a termination notice presses against my chest, But beneath the initial sting, something else begins to take shape, something colder, sharper, more focused. If they think I'm just going to walk away, if they truly believe I'll quietly pack my things and disappear into the void of ex-employees they've discarded over the years, then they don't know me at all. People like Lisa assume that power is permanent, that their control over others is absolute, that the decisions they make in cold conference rooms will never come back to haunt them. But she has forgotten one very important thing: knowledge is power, and I have more of it than she could ever imagine. Over the years, I have watched, listened, and collected little pieces of information that seemed insignificant at the time, stray puzzle pieces that never quite fit together until now. I was never one for office gossip, never the type to whisper in break rooms or linger in doorways catching the latest rumors, but I have always paid attention. I take a slow sip of wine, my fingers moving across the keyboard, opening folders, scanning through files, methodically searching for the weak spots in the fortress Lisa believes she has built around herself. I start with emails, carefully filtering through archived conversations, looking for patterns, anything that feels out of place, anything that might suggest a crack in the foundation. Most of it is the usual corporate nonsense: policy updates, HR memos, performance evaluations, but then something catches my eye. A forwarded email chain with the subject line, "Compliance Review, Q4 Reports." I click it open, scanning the names in the chain, my pulse quickening slightly when I see Lisa's name among the recipients. The message itself is vague, just a polite reminder about adjusting discrepancies before final submission, but something about the wording feels off. I check the timestamp. This was sent the night before a major client presentation, the kind where financials are expected to be spotless, the kind where even a single decimal out of place could send executives into a tailspin. I click on the attachment, a seemingly standard quarterly financial report, but the numbers don't add up. I sit back, narrowing my eyes at the screen, my brain shifting gears as I dig deeper. Adjusting discrepancies. That's an interesting choice of words. I open another folder, one that contains older reports, and begin comparing them line by line, looking for inconsistencies, anything that seems manipulated. It takes a few minutes, but then I see it, a pattern of subtle, calculated alterations, figures that don't match across reports, amounts shifted just enough to go unnoticed unless someone knew exactly what to look for. And then I find the jackpot. A folder buried 3 levels deep in the company's shared drive, tucked away under an innocent-sounding name: Quarterly Audit, Archive. Inside, I find documents that should have been wiped clean after each review cycle, files that someone either forgot to delete or thought were too well hidden to ever be discovered. But I found them. And now I know exactly what Lisa has been covering up. Westfield Financial has been lying to its clients, doctoring reports, covering up financial discrepancies, and funneling money into a shadow account that doesn't appear anywhere in the company's official records. They've been moving funds, padding numbers, making sure their biggest investors continue to see exactly what they want them to see while the truth remains buried beneath layers of manipulated data. And guess whose name is all over the approval records? Lisa. My fingers hover over the keyboard, my mind racing with possibilities, weighing the next steps, considering just how deep this rabbit hole goes. This isn't just a minor compliance issue, not some small accounting error that can be swept under the rug. This is fraud, the kind of fraud that could bring down an entire company, the kind that could send executives scrambling for legal counsel, the kind that could ruin careers. I take another sip of wine, exhaling slowly, letting the realization settle in. Lisa thought she was untouchable, that she held all the cards, that she had the power to decide who stays and who goes. But she never considered the possibility that the person she so casually discarded might be the one holding the real power. By Monday morning, she won't be smirking anymore. Monday morning arrives with the crisp bite of autumn in the air, the kind of morning that should bring a sense of renewal, of fresh beginnings, of possibility. But today, the only thing on my mind is revenge, cold and calculated, carefully planned and impossibly satisfying. I step into the office with my head high and my heels clicking against the polished tile floors, feeling an unfamiliar sense of power settling over me. A weightless clarity that comes with knowing that every single person in this building will soon realize just how much they underestimated me. No one spares me a second glance as I walk past the reception desk. No one suspects a thing. No one has the slightest idea that within the next few hours, this company will be standing on the precipice of complete and utter disaster. I take my time settling in, dropping my bag onto my desk, logging into my computer with a practiced ease, acting as though nothing in the world is amiss, as though my heart isn't hammering with anticipation, as though I'm not about to completely destroy the woman who thought she could ruin me without consequences. My first order of business is simple but devastatingly effective. I draft an anonymous email to a major financial watchdog, attaching the incriminating files I uncovered over the weekend, outlining the precise nature of the fraudulent activity, making it impossible for them to ignore. There's a certain satisfaction in knowing that by the time Lisa even realizes what's happening, the wheels will already be in motion, the investigation already set into action, the consequences already inevitable. But that's only phase one. The real spectacle, the one that will send this office into a tailspin of whispers and frantic damage control, is yet to come. I open my email, crafting a message that appears to be from Lisa herself, using a simple but effective trick I learned years ago, spoofing an internal address just enough to pass at first glance. The message is short, professional, and undeniably damning, inviting the entire executive team to a mandatory compliance meeting at 10 a.m. sharp, with a subject line that hints at urgency and confidentiality. And, of course, I attach the very documents that will burn her to the ground. I press send. The moment the email is out in the world, I lean back in my chair, stretching my fingers, feeling an almost electric thrill rush through me at the knowledge that the countdown has begun. I watch the minutes tick by, watching as Lisa moves about the office, utterly oblivious to the bomb I've just planted directly beneath her. She struts through the hallways like she always does, issuing orders, flashing her perfect, smug little smile, living in blissful ignorance of the disaster awaiting her just down the hall. The meeting is scheduled for 10 a.m., and by the time the clock strikes 9:59, I'm already positioned just outside the conference room, standing near the break area with a cup of coffee in hand, looking casual, looking indifferent, looking as though I'm just another insignificant cog in the machine. But my eyes are trained on her, watching as she steps through the door with her usual confidence, laptop tucked under one arm, ready to run yet another meaningless corporate meeting where she gets to feel important. She doesn't even know that she's walking into her own execution. I linger outside, pretending to check my phone, waiting, until the silence from the conference room becomes something so thick, so unnatural, so deafening, that I know the moment has arrived. I turn my head slightly, just enough to glimpse through the glass walls, just enough to see her face as she opens her laptop, just enough to watch as her expression shifts from mild boredom to absolute, unmistakable horror. For a single, perfect moment, no one speaks. Then, the murmurs start. Confused glances are exchanged. The CEO leans forward in his chair, his face unreadable, his fingers tapping slowly against the table as he scans the documents now displayed in front of him. One of the senior financial officers clears his throat, shifting uncomfortably in his seat, as if the sheer weight of what he's just seen is too much to ignore. Lisa's hands are frozen above her keyboard, fingers curled slightly, her entire body unnaturally still, her breath caught somewhere between disbelief and crippling panic. She looks up, her eyes darting around the room, and every single executive in the company is staring at her like she's a ticking time bomb. Lisa bolts out of the conference room so fast that her chair is still spinning behind her, the color drained from her face, her perfectly composed mask slipping with every hurried step she takes toward the hallway. The usual confidence in her stride is gone, replaced by something frantic, something desperate, something that tells me she has finally realized the severity of what just happened inside that room. She doesn't look at anyone, doesn't acknowledge the confused stares of employees who have already started whispering among themselves, doesn't stop to deliver one of her usual passive-aggressive remarks to the junior staff who scramble out of her way. No, Lisa is heading straight for HR because she knows that whatever explanation she manages to give in the next 5 minutes is going to determine whether she still has a career by the end of the day. The office, usually filled with the rhythmic clacking of keyboards and the soft hum of muted conversations, is suddenly alive with energy, an undercurrent of speculation and tension rippling through every corner of the floor. People exchange looks, hushed voices carrying half-heard theories, fingers hovering above send buttons as emails are drafted but never completed, too much distraction in the air for anyone to focus on actual work. I don't even have to listen closely to know what's being said, because I can see it written all over their faces, the disbelief, the curiosity, the growing realization that something monumental is unfolding right before their eyes. Phones begin lighting up on desks, screens flashing with notifications as word spreads beyond our floor, the scandal moving through the company like wildfire, reaching those who weren't in the room but are now scrambling to find out exactly what the hell just happened. And then, as if on cue, the real show begins. The CEO, a man who rarely makes an appearance outside of his corner office, suddenly materializes in the hallway, his face like thunder, his footsteps deliberate, his presence an undeniable warning that whatever patience he had left has now completely disintegrated. He doesn't stop to greet anyone, doesn't return the nervous nods of passing employees, doesn't even acknowledge the deafening silence that follows in his wake as he makes a beeline straight for Lisa's office. And then, without so much as a knock, he storms inside and slams the door behind him, the sound reverberating across the entire floor like a judge's gavel delivering the final verdict. Nobody moves. Nobody breathes. Nobody dares to pretend like they aren't trying to listen to whatever is being said behind that heavy wooden door, the muffled voices inside barely audible, but the sharp, clipped tone of the CEO making it clear that this isn't just a scolding. It's an execution. I glance toward the nearest reflection, catching a glimpse of Lisa through the narrow glass panel, her posture defensive, her hands moving rapidly as she tries to explain, to justify, to claw her way out of the noose tightening around her throat. But the CEO isn't buying it. 30 minutes later, when the door finally swings open again, Lisa steps out, her shoulders hunched, her mouth pressed into a thin, colorless line, her eyes darting wildly around the room like she's just now realizing this is really happening. She barely makes it 2 steps before security arrives, 2 uniformed men flanking her like silent executioners, waiting for her to collect whatever personal belongings she can grab before they escort her out of the building like a common criminal. The queen of the office, the woman who held absolute power just an hour ago, is now reduced to nothing but a cautionary tale. People don't even pretend to be working anymore. Every eye is on her, every movement she makes scrutinized, every hushed conversation circling back to the same inevitable conclusion: Lisa is done. But I'm not. Because as satisfying as this moment is, as much as I enjoy watching the utter destruction of the woman who tried to ruin me, I know there's still one last move to make. One final nail to hammer into the coffin that will ensure Westfield Financial never recovers from this betrayal of trust. That afternoon, with my desk still untouched, my belongings still sitting exactly where they were before this all began, I make my final move. I open my laptop, navigate to my personal email, and forward everything, every report, every email chain, every single damning document, to a journalist I trust, someone who has been waiting for a scandal like this to land in their lap. It takes less than a minute, the files attaching with an almost mocking ease, and then, with one final click, the truth is officially out of my hands. By the time the evening news rolls around, Westfield Financial is no longer just an office full of stunned employees and nervous executives. It is a headline, a public scandal, a financial disaster unfolding in real time. The company is trending for all the wrong reasons, their reputation crumbling beneath the weight of the revelations that are now spreading across every news outlet, every social media platform, every investor's inbox. And me? I'm sitting at home, reclining on my couch, sipping champagne from a crystal glass, watching it all unfold like a masterpiece I painted myself. Tuesday morning arrives with the kind of eerie stillness that follows a storm, the kind of silence that hums with the remnants of destruction, the kind that feels almost unnatural in its quiet aftermath. But I don't need to step outside to know that the world beyond my apartment walls is anything but calm, that the offices of Westfield Financial are in a state of absolute chaos, that every executive in that building is scrambling for cover, desperately trying to salvage what little is left of their tattered reputation. I can already imagine the emergency board meetings being called at dawn, the frantic phone calls to legal teams, the damage control specialists drafting carefully worded statements designed to pacify the angry investors who are undoubtedly preparing to pull their money out before the stock completely collapses. I don't need to imagine, though, because the proof is already waiting for me, right there in my inbox, a flood of unread messages stacking up in neat little rows, each one a new piece of evidence that the corporate empire I once served is now burning to the ground. I sip my coffee slowly, savoring the moment, scrolling through the names that now find themselves suddenly, conveniently interested in reaching out to me. Former coworkers who never had time for me before are now offering their sympathy, their admiration, their carefully phrased messages of support that barely conceal the real question they're all desperate to ask: was this you? Then there are the reporters, journalists from publications I recognize and some I don't, all eager to get the exclusive story, all hoping I'll be the one to fill in the gaps they haven't been able to piece together yet. Some are polite, professional, respectful in their approach, but others are more aggressive, their subject lines bold and insistent, their emails practically begging for a direct quote that could turn the scandal from a financial meltdown into a front-page sensation. And then there are the rival companies, the recruiters sliding into my inbox with carefully crafted offers, subtly acknowledging the very public fallout of my former employer while making it clear that my particular skill set, the one they've only just now decided is irreplaceable, is something they'd be willing to pay a small fortune to acquire. It turns out I'm in high demand, though I suppose I shouldn't be surprised. People love a survivor, love a story of someone who rises from the ashes, love the idea of a corporate underdog turning the tables on the very system that tried to bury them alive. I let the email sit, unread and unanswered, basking in the sheer irony of it all, how quickly the tides turn, how easily people rewrite history to align themselves with the winning side, how effortlessly they pretend that just a few days ago they weren't completely indifferent to my existence. And then, as expected, the official statement arrives. Westfield Financial releases a carefully worded press release, calling the scandal an unfortunate compliance oversight, choosing their phrasing with surgical precision, avoiding any outright admission of guilt while subtly implying that whatever happened was simply an internal mistake, a minor lapse in judgment, a regrettable miscalculation rather than the deliberate, calculated fraud it truly was. The language is familiar, the kind of polished corporate bullshit designed to placate the public while quietly shifting blame onto whoever they've decided is the sacrificial lamb for the week. Lisa, of course, is nowhere to be found. I check the company website just for fun, scrolling through the executive bios, my lips curling into a satisfied smirk when I see that her name has been erased completely, her carefully curated profile wiped from existence, as if she was never there at all. No announcement, no farewell message, no carefully crafted explanation, just gone, discarded like the insignificant pawn she always was, thrown under the bus by the very company she thought would protect her until the end. I wonder how she feels right now, whether she's still trying to spin a new version of events in her head, convincing herself that this wasn't her fault, that she was just another victim, that she never truly saw it coming. I know better. I lean back in my chair, stretching my arms overhead, feeling the tension finally start to unravel from my shoulders, the kind of release that comes not just from winning, but from knowing that my victory was absolute, that there is no coming back from this. That Lisa and the company she fought so hard to control are now permanently branded by their own corruption. And then, as if on cue, my phone buzzes beside me, a single new message appearing from an unknown number, the sender choosing not to identify themselves, as if I wouldn't instantly recognize the person behind the words. You planned this, didn't you? The simplicity of the question makes me chuckle, my fingers hovering over the screen, my thoughts momentarily drifting back to that cold conference room, to Lisa's smug expression, to the way she had spoken my termination into existence with such unshakable confidence, never once considering that she was signing her own death warrant in the process. I don't ask who it is. I don't confirm or deny. I don't waste a single second debating whether I should respond, because the answer has always been obvious, written in every step I've taken since the moment they tried to throw me away. I smile to myself, typing back my final words. Completely understand.